This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to another week of the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website where you can listen to the X-Zone 724, 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And the X-Zone Radio show is coming to you around the world right here on the Starcom Radio Network. Don't forget, Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. until 5 p.m., the Ed Till Show. Radio will never be the same. Wow, what a weekend it has been, X-Zone Nation. Glad to be back here in our studios. Looking forward to another great week. Don't forget, June 26, 27, 28 is the Alien Cosmic Expo in Brantford, Ontario. We're looking forward to having a great time there. Their website is www.aliencosmicexpo.com. And the event is going to be available worldwide on pay-per-view. All that information is going to be on their website at www.aliencosmicexpo.com. X-Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is a good friend of the X-Zone. BUTCH WITKOWSKI is his name, and he is the director and the founder of the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania. And let's see, Butch has been an independent researcher since 1989 when he, along with 4 other people, witnessed a UFO of unbelievable size quietly hover above a mountain in Tucson, Arizona. It was totally silent, burned copper in color, and at least 3 football fields in length. He began his own investigation into the UFO phenomenon that very day. In 2007, he joined MUFON, that's the Mutual UFO Network. He was able to dig deeper into the past and existing cases and even pursue more on-site investigations, but his research was still lacking something, and he wasn't getting to the crucial answers that he was seeking. Joining me now is Butch WITKOWSKI. And Butch, welcome back to the X-Zone. Always great having you on, good sir.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks, Butch. For our listeners who may not know you, tell them about the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania.
Research Center was started in 2009. We have 12 affiliate groups throughout the country, 10 in the United States, 1 in Eastern Europe and Poland, and 1 in England. And it's made up of longtime researchers that have been at it, some a great deal longer than I have, and various backgrounds, law enforcement, pilots,
right,
attorney, psychics, paranormal, cryptozoology, the whole paranormal realm, and known and dealt with these people for many years and trust them with the utmost with whatever they report and on their research findings. Sometimes we don't get what we're looking for, but at least we're looking.
Butch, there was some news within the past couple of weeks about a Mexican mummy that people were believing were the actual extraterrestrials from the Roswell crash. What can you tell us about this presentation?
Well, I caught the presentation a couple hours after it had happened, but I did get to view the photographs that were sent to me, and it was quite obvious what it was. I mean, it was not an extraterrestrial. It was a mummy, probably a child or a young girl or a young lady. Mm-hmm. And but you know, we've seen this coming for a long time. You know, what we're seeing is just we're beginning to see it's a recirculation of old data among ufologists. You know, it's a lot of self-promotion in the media, and then they seem to be more concerned about generating hits on their websites mm-hmm. with anything that has the wow factor than anything of any serious inquiry. But it has damaged ufology quite a bit. A lot of people say it hasn't, but there's a lot more that say it has. And, you know, every setback is a setback. And it's enough dealing with the news media mm-hmm. and the laugh factor. Now that we got our own researchers doing the same thing, just kind of tends to shoot a lot of the credibility that real researchers have in the foot. So it is what it is, and we'll see how it plays out, but I'm just sorry it happened, and I'm sorry the way it happened. And, you know, I know all the gentlemen involved, mm-hmm. and that's pretty much about all I'm going to say about it, because if I really get started, I'm going to get myself in trouble.
You know, how do we explain this to the world, to the people within the world who really want to believe that UFOs are real, the ETs are real, and then when a stunt like this is pulled, it just kind of puts a bad taste in their mouth, and they think that, oh, geez, all these people are a bunch of wackadoodles.
Well, you know, what people think, you know, there's always going to be demons.
Yeah.
Even where none exist, we'll find a way to make them. That's just the way it is. And unfortunately, now we're the demons. People think they've been strung along. You know, I read some of the comments and blogs and on-air comments on the radio, and it's unbelievable. I mean, researchers that I know that have been involved many years are packing it in. They're just giving up. They're just saying enough's enough. Yeah, they're just saying enough's enough. They're just not going to do it anymore, because why should they, you know, they feel as though why should they go out and have to defend somebody else's missteps to get credibility for themselves, you know, for what they're doing and what they're investing their time, effort, and money into. And then, you know, something like this pops up, and it makes everybody look bad. And I don't care who you are in ufology. If you don't think this makes you look bad, you're very foolish, because it does make you look bad. You know, it's just the way it is, and it's going to take a lot of work to get it back up to where it is, or where it should be anyway. Not where it ever was, but where it should be.
Sure. Because
where it should be, all those guys are long dead and buried that did it the right way. And this fortune and glory stuff is it's just not good. It's just not good.
What kind of damage control should be implemented at this point?
Well, I think when somebody has something like this, let's just say somebody does find a body, mm-hmm. and they do believe it is. This is not something that should be kept between 4, 5, 6 people. This should be credible researchers of all types, of all fields, should be brought in to look, give their opinion, and see what's what. And if everybody comes to the conclusion that, hey, yeah, maybe we got something here, you know, and that's the way to approach it to the public. Maybe we got something, not absolutely we got mm-hmm. something, because absolutely you don't know. I mean, how much evidence has ever been put forth in the paranormal, ufology, cryptozoology? Zero.
Yeah.
It's all word of mouth and a few good photographs and a few good movies and a few good this and a few good that. But conclusive proof? None. So, you know, that's what you got to shoot for. And that's the only way it's going to stop. It's not going to be, you know, 4, 5, 6 people just standing around going like, "Yep, this is it. This is what we got, and we believe it to be a fact, and this is what we're going to present." And next thing you know, researchers that are probably a little bit smarter than they are, a little bit more involved than they are looking at the same thing, going like, "This ain't going to fly." And that's exactly what happened. You know, researchers with a lot more background looked at that photograph right off the... I mean, that thing was debunked within minutes of its presentation on the screen. Minutes.
What's the story behind the story here? What can you tell us about the find of this and how it was presented to the world?
Well, the find evidently took place where somebody found some negatives in an attic of a home of some people that lived and worked in New Mexico, and these were transported to another researcher who then got a hold of two more researchers, and then they involved two more researchers and a couple of guys that were photographic guys, and they all came to the conclusion that yes, this is something that bears looking into. And this started a long time back. And they started putting it together, and instead of presenting it in a normal manner that you would present anything, whether it be on a radio or TV show or on the internet, you know, when you present a case or you present evidence, that's the way it's normally done. Unfortunately, this was presented in a Broadway show type of event where, you know, pay-per-view and big bucks tickets at a large auditorium, lots of hype, lots of advertising, and lots of people on the stage who a lot of people thought, you know, were extremely credible to that point. And then the floor fell out from under them. And I was sorry to see it. I was sorry to see the people involved because I had a lot of respect for those people that were involved.
Right.
And it's just going to take a while. This is, you know, it's not going to go away. I mean, we all have to pull together and make it happen. But I mean, there's some people who are just saying no, enough is enough, and that's it.
You know, so many times, Butch, and you know this just as much as I do, the UFO community has claimed that the government, is behind a greater conspiracy, and that government agents are feeding disinformation to the public about the UFO community. And it seems that the UFO community just shot their foot off this time.
Yeah, exactly. They did exactly what they've been warning the people about for many, 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 many years. They did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, now, and you can see it almost in some of the blogs. I mean, some of the blogs have toned down quite a bit. But the blogs that were very vocal about ufology, they've backed off quite a bit and have, you know, kind of got their standards down to where it's now a plausible thing to say, well, we don't really know. Because, you know, the minute somebody comes out and tells me they're an expert, the minute I hear that word, Rob, the first thing that pops into my mind is the word ego. Because there are no experts in this field.
That's true.
Who are they? I mean, there are none. I don't know. I've not seen anybody walk up and with a little gray on his hand and a bottle of beer saying, hey, meet my buddy here. You know, nobody's done that. Nobody's presented any pieces of a flying craft. Nobody's presented Bigfoot hair or a dead body or anything. I mean, you know, so the credibility factor right now is it's less than desired. But I'm hoping that if everybody pulls together and not talking about the guys that were involved in this thing, but those other rocket scientists we have running around out there, if they all get their act together and start to really dig down and research and put stuff together before they go out and say that stuff to the public or especially to the news media. I mean, you know, yeah, hey, if one lands in my yard, the first guy I'm going to call is going to be my neighbor because he works for the newspaper. But it's in my yard, you know. I'm not going to say that it came to my yard and it left and then go to the newspaper guy because right now that would get you laughed right off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it seems that you know, so many people, hardworking people who have been digging for the truth, trying to find out what's behind the story, are being outdone by those within the community who are looking for sensationalistic sales, sensationalistic headlines, sensationalistic interviews. Like now there's this whole thing about the planet Serpo that's starting to resurface again, and we tracked it down to be nothing but a science fiction hoax. You know? And
that's, you know, now are the people that are putting that stuff out again. People now that are trying to get even because they were or duped or fell into the belief that deal in Mexico is the real deal. I think you're going to see a lot of that coming. I think you're going to see a lot of old stuff come back up over time. And it's going to be up to the researchers out there and the investigators, and I'm talking about the good guys and girls out there that know what they're doing, to shut it down right away. Expose it for what it is and be done with it and move on.
I was interviewing somebody last week, and they got really upset with me. And this person is in the UFO community. He's written a couple of books because I kept on asking him for proof. He was making statements, and I said, "Well, where's your proof?" He said, "So what do you want? Proof before you believe it?" I said, "That's it exactly."
Yeah, exactly. Why would you want anything less than that?
Exactly. I mean, I don't understand their mentality, Butch.
Well, it's kind of a strange mentality, and I saw that early on when I got involved. Before I even was involved with MUFON or anybody, before I even knew who Dr. Alan Hynek was. I didn't even know that guy from Adam. But I saw things and I read things, and I'm going like, God, these people are at war with each other more than they're trying to do anything constructive. And it's been that way ever since. I like my little group. I can throw something out there and get a reasonable and honest answer back. Cases that we're working on are proceeding forward. And, we're gathering evidence, real evidence, not this stuff off the cuff. We know where I just say, "Well, Rob, this is the way it is." Well, no, I'm going to say, "Hey, Rob, this is the way it is," and I have the paperwork from the guy to prove it.
Yeah, but you see, Butch, that's
I have his letterhead and his statement.
Yeah, but you see, Butch, that's your law enforcement training kicking in.
Yeah, I guess.
It's so many people call themselves researchers, investigators, and their research or investigation abilities come from reading the internet.
Yeah. That's true. I laugh about that because I was just spoke at a round table last month where a guy came up to me and said, he was telling me this and this and this and this and this, and I said, "Where did you get all this information?" He said, "Why, off the internet. Where else?" And I'm going like, "So you were never at the scene, you've never been there, you've never seen that for yourself?" He went, "No, I got it off the internet, but they had pictures." And I'm going like, I don't care if they had video. I said, "You were not there." He says, "No, I was never there." And I said, "So how can you stand here and tell me that this case is honest, factual, upfront, this is the real deal and everything else?" And I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, "Buddy, you lost your mind." And then I proceeded to give him a little 10-minute lesson on what he should do.
Right.
And just heard back from him the other day, and he says, "You were right. It couldn't happen that way." So I think if lack of training, the training courses that are offered are training courses for $1. And, but, what I always tell people, I said, if you want to know something, get a hold of somebody that's doing it. Somebody's going out and getting their feet muddy, whether they're chasing Bigfoot or they're chasing ghosts or they're chasing UFOs, it doesn't matter. Make sure they're the guys that are getting their boots dirty and they got the equipment to do what they're doing and say what they say. And those are people you should be talking to.
When your
Don't
group
go on the internet because you're not going to get anything out of that.
Exonation, Butch WITKOWSKI is my special guest. He is the founder and the director of the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania. And this guy's the real McCoy. I put him in the same category as I do Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Randall. So there you go. That speaks for my belief in his credibility. You're listening to the X Zone on the Starcom Radio Network. www.xzoneradiotv.com is our website. And if you'd like to send an email, on air at xzoneradiotv.com. Butch, what's your website?
The website is www.uforcop.com.
That's www.uforcop.com. Butch, any strange sightings of UFOs or strange anomalies or strange creatures in your neck of the woods lately?
Yeah, we got one back in late April. A guy sent me an email and asked me to call him, and he had a report to put, and he just didn't want to put it on paper. He wanted to talk about it. So I got him online, and he starts telling me the story, and the story follows like this. He's walking his let me give you his background first. Okay. Ex-pilot, Air Force and commercial for 40 years, retired, lives in the same area all his life, hunted the same area all his life, was taking his 2 Weimaraner dogs for a walk that he does when there's good weather, over to the state game lands and near Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania. And as he's walking up the trail, and it's a pretty wide trail because it's a fire trail, so fire trucks have to get up and in and out. So he gets in about 150 yards or so, and the dogs go crazy. They go absolutely bananas. You know, they're ripping and tearing. They want to get off the leashes. He's doing all he can to hold them back. They're very large dogs. They're actually digging holes in the ground trying to get away from him. So he's thinking, okay, so it's a skunk, it's a possum, you know, a deer maybe, whatever, you know, and he's paying more attention to the dogs, and he's looking, and he doesn't see anything. He said, then he looks up, and out of the right-hand side of the road walks, and I'm going to give you his description, because I thought it was amazing. He said, think Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? He says, cover him in short, dark brown or black hair, no long arms, no Bigfoot, nothing like that. I've seen pictures of Bigfoot. This is no Bigfoot. This is a man. He said the only difference is he's about maybe 7 to 8 feet tall, and he's got a snout. Now, he said, when I say snout, I don't mean like Wolfman or a dog or anything like that. He said just a snout, like a bulldog or maybe a pug, you know. He said no tail, no long ears, none of that stuff. And he said this thing walks across in front of him. Now, the dogs are on it. I mean, they want to get a piece of this thing, whatever it is. It pays no attention to him or the dogs. I don't know about you, but if I have 2 dogs barking at me, I'm going to watch them.
Exactly.
He said it walks across. He said it just never pays any attention, never looks his direction, walks into the other side of the woods, and is gone. So he manages to get the dogs back to the truck. He retrieves a handgun from the truck. He goes back up, which I told him he was very foolish to do. And he goes in the right side where it came out. He didn't see anything like broken branches or footprints, and the ground was very soft. He didn't even see any footprints there where it crossed the road. And so he went into the other side. He didn't see anything, so he goes back and he tells a couple of his buddies who say, we're going to go out there the next day. This was a Saturday. He's going to go on a Sunday. He'll call me back. So he goes, and he calls me back about 7 o'clock that night. And he said, here's what happened. He said, told my buddies, we loaded up some high-powered rifles. And I said, look, you got to stop that stuff. Somebody's going to get hurt. He says, well, that's the only thing I can think of. And I said, okay. So he said, we go back. We see where the dogs dug the holes. We go into the right-hand side. We go in about 50, 75 yards, nothing. We go into the other side. He said, we get in no more than 20, 25 yards. And he said, we all stop at the same time. We get this feeling of we shouldn't be here. We need to leave right now. You know, the old fear, flee. Yeah. He said we backed out with our weapons pointed toward the woods, and he said we got on the road, got back in the truck, and he said, I want to tell you this, Mr. Witkowski. He said, I've lived here all my life. I've hunted there all my life. I don't know what that was. I don't know where it came from. I've never seen anything like it before, and I'm never going back there again as long as I live, period.
Wow.
That was the end of the story. So I contacted some researchers in the area who had similar stories of where they were out on Bigfoot hunts, researching different areas, and people that had come to, research with them came running out of the woods and kept right on running, right by them and right to their vehicle and gone. So what's up there? We have no idea. We're going to go up. We're going to be going up the end of June and spend a weekend up there. And I'm going to, I know exactly where he was. I mean, he told me where he was. I know what the gate number is of the state park where he parked the vehicle. So that's where we're going to be. And there are a lot of strange reports of that stuff up there. Unknown creatures, guys out on a Bigfoot hunt being confronted in the middle of the night by a guy in military garb with night vision and a full automatic M4, dressed in real live gear, military gear, not the stuff you buy at the local Army and Navy. And, they say, hi, and he goes, yeah, hi, I'm just out here hunting bear. And nobody hunts bear at night. Yeah. That's number one. Number two, you can't hunt in Pennsylvania with a full automatic weapon, and it was a full automatic weapon because both these guys were in the service.
Is it possible that this person was a game warden or a law enforcement officer just trying to find out what these guys were up to?
No, he was military. He had the radio hook up. He had the earphones. He had the whole 9 yards. He was. He had the attachment for the night vision on the helmet. I mean, you're talking about a lot of money there.
National Guard?
No, he said he had no insignias. No, all the patch spots were vacant. There was no patches.
All right. What's your hypothesis?
Well, it's not too far from a place called Alvera, where the government back in the late 80s built a nuclear reactor in the middle of this state game lands, which till today is still cordoned off. It's an area you're not allowed to go into.
Wow.
And they were trying to develop a nuclear engine for small aircraft, like, you know, your local Piper or your Cessna would be nuclear powered. And it was only shut down in the late 90s and dismantled in the early 2000s. But it's the building, you know, it's still there. I mean, it's just been decommissioned. But you're not allowed to go there. It's zoned off. Even on the maps, you can see it. It's all zoned off. But it is a great spot for hunting. I mean, it's one of the premier spots in Pennsylvania to hunt deer. So, are they still involved up in that area? We don't know. There's no National Guard headquarters close to that. There's no Army base close to that. There's no Air Force or any type of military facilities close to that. So what he was doing there, we have no idea, but he was the only one. And he walked back. What was funny was he's hunting deer or hunting bear, but he walks out and he talks to them for just a few minutes, and he turns around and walks back the direction he came. I would think if you were hunting, you would go forward. You wouldn't go backward.
Yeah.
You've already been there.
Exactly.
So we're going to go up and look that over, and we're going to try to get to that nuclear site and see what's going on there and do some testing, see if it's still hot.
All right, Butch, stand by. We've got to take a couple of commercials here. We'll be back shortly. Exonation, the one and only Butch Witkowski is our special guest. He is the director and founder of the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania. Their website is www.ufocop.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this short break as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network. Don't go away.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. manifestation is driven by imagination, intent, and passion. In our culture, all three have been distorted and disabled by modern media and exploitation. Re-engage your imagination and your passion by entering into the world of paranormal romance. Kahir O'Donnell takes her readers on an exciting journey into the endless possibilities of loving, passionate, and mutually respectful male-female relationship. Her latest book, The Long Dark Night, features special ops adventure, a daring rescue, a psychic woman from the stars, and a special agent that will die to protect her. The Long Dark Night by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or Amazon.com. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
The Alien Cosmic Expo will be held in Brantford, Ontario, June 26, 27, 28, and will feature 24 internationally acclaimed experts and researchers of UFOs, crop circles, alien abductions, and much more in this 3-day 2015 summer Canadian event. Experts in the field of extraterrestrials and alien encounters, out-of-body experiences, past life regression, soul reading, psychic, and mediumship will all be presented with professionalism, integrity, and credibility, making the Alien Cosmic Expo the largest event of its kind in Canada for 2015. The exhibitor hall will feature a spectacular lineup of gifted mediums, psychics, astrologers, channelers, aura photography, healers, as well as books, DVDs, alternative health products, crystals, jewelry, and much more, completing the venue with something for everyone. For all information and to purchase your tickets for the Alien Cosmic Expo, go to www.aliencosmicexpo.com. That's www.aliencosmicexpo.com.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Sister Fields Organic Vineyards in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
www.xzonradiotv.com is our website. You can listen to the X Zone 724-365 at that website. And you're listening to us live and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network. My Butch this hour. Let's try this one again. My guest this hour is Butch Witkowski. He is the director, founder. I love live radio. Of the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania. Their website is uforcop.com. And Butch, welcome back, old friend. Listen, I received an email over the break from Phyllis, who's listening to us in Philadelphia. She would like to hear your take on the Phoenix Lights.
Well, you know, there are credible video of what went on. We know they were not flares. I think the story has grown hair as it's gone on, but it was not only seen over Phoenix. I mean, it was seen over a couple other spots in Arizona. And again, like in my sighting, only one media outlet said that they saw something. Everybody else was silent. So right now, if I had to classify it, I'd classify it as an unknown. It's as weird as the Stevensville, Texas cases. I mean, many people saw it. I mean, way too many people. It was a mass sighting. It wasn't something that was seen by 5 or 6 people. I mean, this was seen by a lot of people. And like I said, if I had to classify it, I would classify it right now as an unknown.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, they were getting ready to have this solar flight fly from, where was it? Where were they going to fly from?
Japan.
Right? Japan, right? And this had an enormous wing spread. It was very quiet. It had navigational lights on it. Is it possible that the Phoenix Lights and the Stephenville Lights were something like a prototype of some sort of craft? Because apparently in Stevensville, over the area, sure there was radar contact, but were there actually fighters dispatched to this to investigate the craft?
In Stevensville, I believe there were fighters that were dispatched, but when it was brought up that fighters were dispatched, they said, well, actually they were on a training mission. So, you're never going to get the right answer whether they were dispatched, they were actually on a training mission, but I would say they would have been dispatched because there was radar hits. And the airport at Davis-Monthan Air Base is there in Tucson, and, they said they recorded nothing. Now, the Tucson airport said that they recorded a blip, but when everybody was trying to get the radar paperwork, that kind of got lost in the shuffle somewhere. And much other cases.
And isn't that the same thing that the Air Force claimed was going on in Phoenix as well?
Yes, exactly the same. Yeah.
Is it possible that they were training missions and there was no extraterrestrial connection whatsoever?
Oh, it's always possible, sure. I mean, but the video, the video's pretty good. I mean, it's not that blurry, shaky stuff that you normally see on YouTube. And a note to your listeners, if it's on YouTube, don't believe it.
Yeah, there's a lot of CGI there.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be a whole lot of things. Just the fact, the thing that always bothers me with that case is not so much the sighting itself or the little bit of evidence that was provided. It's that Phoenix is a big town, and people in South Phoenix are seeing the same thing in North Phoenix at the same time and describing it the same way, and they have no idea who lives in South Phoenix or North Phoenix. They don't know each other.
Right.
And it's not just a group of 2 or 3 people over here and 2 or 3 people here. You're talking about hundreds of people saw this.
Yeah. I've had
they saw it make the slow turn. They saw it make the slow turn over the city. Everybody described the slow turn, silent. The lights didn't flicker or flash or anything like that. They stayed consistent. And, off it went.
I've had Lynn Kitai on the show many times, Dr. Lynn Kitai, and she tells a convincing story.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was sitting out there on her patio or on her deck, whatever it is, and she watched the whole thing, as did others. And, others have come forward, and, Lynn really carried it through. I mean, she really did not take what the governor was saying, which he was just trying to make a joke of it, And then he comes out later on and says, well, yeah, I did see it. So,
what about the
typical UFO sighting?
Typical UFO sightings. Now, are UFO sightings up or down? Or are they staying the same?
In Pennsylvania right now, I would say they're down. In the western, in the Texas area and the western part of the country, they are up.
Really? Any idea why?
No. It just goes. It's ebb and flow. You know, like 1 month Pennsylvania have 60-some sightings, and the next month they might have 16.
Really? Eh?
California and Texas still remain, you know, the biggest places out there that have the most sightings. But, you know, take the size of Pennsylvania as opposed to the size of California or Texas, and that kind of pretty much explains it.
But
we are getting more sightings in the northern part of Pennsylvania, which is not really heavily populated. It's a lot of state game lands and hunting lands and cabins, and along the New York border. So we're kind of keeping an eye on that. But, you know, we're getting cases from everywhere. We're getting cases from Australia. We're getting cases from England. So,
Butch, as a former law enforcement officer, just like I am, in the U.S. you have NCIC. In Canada, we have CPIC. And Quebec has CRPQ. That is the Quebec version of that. It's its own computer system that runs to CPIC and talks to CPIC all the time. Why doesn't the UFO community pool all their data together? Because in my opinion, that's the only way this mystery is going to be solved, with the sharing of information, data, and intelligence.
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is that you will have individuals that really start out really well with databases. I mean, I keep a database for Pennsylvania. I do. But that's my database. You know, I don't rely on anybody else's input on that other than my people and what we receive. To put something together like an NCIC for UFOs, I guess somebody that would jump up and say they're doing that would be MUFON.
Yeah.
But I doubt that. I mean, because I've looked for cases that I know should have been there and they weren't there. And that's been a complaint for many, many years by many, many people before I long became a member of MUFON. So to find somebody, there was a gentleman who about a year and a half ago started a database. He had everything linked up. You name it. He could pull a report from Canada. He could pull a report from Puerto Rico, United States, Europe, anywhere, and publish the report. The whole report he would publish. And he just sent out a thing after about a year's worth, and he said, I just can't afford to do this. Wow. You know, he put a membership on there, and I think it was like $10 for a year. And I contributed to it, and I know a bunch of other people did. He said, we didn't scratch the surface.
Really?
You know, he said, you know, he just needed he said just the time he's investing off of his regular job, and he works in IT. He said, just taken away from that, he said, I'm spending, 60, 80 hours a week working on these reports and cataloging them and, finding them and digging them up and all this.
But why
it just didn't work out.
But why couldn't other organizations help to enter the data once the format templates were up and running? Like, why did he have to do everything himself?
Yeah, I guess, when you put something in, and I'm going to use MUFON because there is no bigger group out there than MUFON. If you put something into CMS, which is their database, it's put in by the researcher or investigator on the scene. It's looked at by probably the chief investigator of the state or the state section director or the state director. Until it goes through all those hands, and, it may be 90 days old until it gets into to CMS. I mean, in its entirety, especially if there's callbacks to the witnesses or photographs that got to be looked at or evidence that's got to be discerned. And it's so huge because there's such a vast amount of information from all over the world that, you'd probably have to have just a pretty good-sized setup with a lot of people just to keep that database up to date.
Yeah, I
mean, where it's up to date, where you could see the report, say, within 24 hours.
I understand that, Butch. I understand that.
See a call,
but if you're
going,
I understand that. But if you're going to do something, do it right or don't do it at all. Like,
there was a lady in Quebec who contacted me 2 years ago. Matter of fact, she worked for the government, and her job was IT. That's what she did, and she retired. And she's interested in alien abduction, and she wanted to put together a database of abductions.
Right.
She said half the people wouldn't even talk to her.
Unreal. So,
if you can't get the information, you can't put it up, and therefore there's no database. And that's another thing. The secretive. Being a ufologist is like working for the CIA. I mean, nobody tells you anything. No, groups do not talk to each other. Well, a few do. I shouldn't say that. All groups, but a few talk to each other. Most do not. It's all about numbers. They want to be number one in the rankings, or they want to have the most hits on YouTube, or the most hits on Facebook, or whatever other social media they're after. But I kind of shy away from all that. I just, I got enough headaches with the stuff that I got coming in.
Hey, listen, what about is there an update on Todd C's?
Yeah, we finally got to the property.
Okay.
On April 17th, 18th, and 19th, we got to tour the property. We found the tree he was found under. We walked the whole property. We walked the power lines where the ATV was found. And although I would like to say that we learned a lot, we did. We learned 100% of everything we saw was new. At the same time, it put up 100% more questions that we have. Like the spot where the body was found is about 25 yards from the road, where everybody and their brother for 2 days is looking for this guy. So they were walking past him. Now, not only are they walking past him, but cadaver dogs are walking past him, and search dogs are walking past him. Everybody's walking past him, and the condition the body was found in, you should have been able to tell where this guy was if you were a half a mile down the road.
Now, just for our listeners who may not have been with us the last time you joined us and we talked about the Todd Cease case, can you give them the story behind the update?
Sure. The gentleman, Todd Cease, left his house at 5 a.m. in the morning, which he did often to check out preseason deer up on Northumberland Ridge, jumped on his four-wheeler, ATV, and went up to the ridge. And normally he was home by 12, told his wife he would be home by 12. He was last seen alive at 1 a.m. that morning that he left. Never came back. At 12 o'clock, the family, brothers, he had brothers and father, they started searching for him. They couldn't find him. They came back. At 2 o'clock, the wife calls the police. The police mount the search, the fire department, the state police helicopter, dogs, chickens, horses, you name it. They had everything out looking for this guy. They had a diver go into the pond on the property. They, the whole bit. They just went crazy. They searched until dark and into dark. They called it off because of darkness. They started the next morning at 7 a.m. Again, the same amount of people out there, family, friends, law enforcement, search dogs from towns away. I mean, it was just a huge search for this guy. And at the body is found at 7:42, I believe it was, in the evening, the next day, that following day, in the dark. And we still don't know who found it because there's like 5 different people say they found the body. And then there's 4 different people that said they identified the body. So he's taken for an autopsy, but the problem with that is from when the body leaves the scene, and I don't know what it's like up in Canada, but here in Pennsylvania, as long as I can remember everything I was involved in where there was a death, the body is pronounced by the coroner, which he was also pronounced by the coroner, and then the body leaves immediately from the scene after it's bagged and tagged, and it's taken to the hospital that's going to perform the autopsy or wherever it's going to be performed. From the time the body left the scene until he's on the autopsy table at the Allentown Hospital is 16 hours missing. Whoa. So where was the body for 16 hours? The county has no facilities. In other words, they don't have a morgue where they could have stored the body. And the body should have been taken from the scene to the hospital, where the hospital would have had morgue facilities to store the body till the next morning. So he's autopsied that morning, and we obtained the autopsy report, toxicology report, and they said, he died of a cocaine overdose. We can find no background of his drug use. We can find nothing on this guy. No military records, no driver's license, even though he was a truck driver, no hunting license, no fishing license, even though he was an avid hunter and fisherman, no marital records, no property records, no tax records. This guy didn't exist. And then when the toxicology comes out, we got that also, and I took it to a forensic pathologist, and he looked at it and he said, with the amount of degraded cocaine in this man's system, he would have probably took it however he took it, whether it was snorted or injected or he ate it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He said he probably would have took about 8 to 10 steps before he fell over dead.
Oh my gosh!
So how did this guy get from his ATV, which is 2 miles away, over rugged terrain like you wouldn't believe? One of my researchers was wearing, these heavy, high-profile sneakers you buy today for $3,000. And he said the rocks were hurting his feet. Now, how did this guy get from there to basically within 30, 40 yards of his own home, in his own backyard? So we still got a lot of questions. We've been told a lot of mistruths, which we have on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Every time somebody told us something, I said, look, can you email me that? And they did. I don't know why. I wouldn't have put it on paper.
Well, maybe that's because they felt they had nothing to fear.
I'll find it.
Yeah. One last question. We got about 3 minutes left, Butch. A missing child in Australia.
Yes. Working with a doctor down there, a neurological doctor who's also a PhD and a UFO researcher, who called me about this case, and it's a 3-year-old boy went missing April 17th. He went missing on, April 17th of 2015. He and his sister were playing chasey in Australia. I guess that's what they call it. She's chasing him around the house. Now, on the back porch, it's the grandmother. It's her home. Mm-hmm. And in the front of the house where the kitchen is, there's a big bay window, and the mother's watching the kids run by, and round they go. And next thing you know, the girl comes around to the front of the house, but the mother doesn't see the boy. So she goes outside, starts to hunt for the boy. He's gone. He has disappeared. He's not there. Police are called. Police are there within 20 minutes. They start a search, and then they call in more people. They question the daughter and the little girl, and, she's 4, the boy's 3. And they asked her what happened to, the little guy, and she said, I don't know, he just disappeared. He just wasn't there. And the mother said, as they were running around the house, the little girl was only like a couple steps behind him. So they checked, of course, pedophiles in the area.
Sure.
And first, there's only one in the area that they could find that's listed. And he was at work. He's got an alibi. The police went into the wooded area across the road, but they couldn't even get into the wooded area because it's really, they have a name for the bush, but it's a really long thorn bush. Mm-hmm. And the cops said, we can't get in there. And they said, there's no way the kid got in there. Till this day, now it's been turned over to homicide detectives, they have not so much found a sliver of clothing for this child.
Oh my gosh!
There was no screaming. There was no noise at all. And from the time the mother sees the boy the last time till he disappears and she's out the second time was less than 5 minutes.
Are the mother and father, are they together? Are they separated? Could there be a custody?
No, the father was at work, and the mother was visiting her mother, the grandmother.
Hey, Butch, as always, time goes by so fast when you're with us, my friend. I look forward to the next time you come back and join us and bring us up to date. And who knows, maybe we might have an answer to one of the many mysteries that you and the good people of your organization are checking out.
And before I forget, Sean Forker said that I should send you his regards.
He's a great guy. Thank you very much. Butch, always great talking to you and your crew. Thanks very much for doing the great work you do, and we look forward to speaking to you again here in the X Zone. Don't be a stranger, my friend.
I won't. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Butch. X Zone Nation, for more information on Butch and his organization, www.ufrcop.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break. We're going to be talking about the last pope, the Illuminati, and much more as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Starcom Radio Network. Don't go away.